So we've known it's coming, the potential bankruptcy of my beloved post office. At midnight tonight, the U.S. Postal Service is expected to default on a $5.5 billion payment for the future postal retirees' health benefits. This is the first of its kind in the post office's history, but it's no surprise considering all the agency's growing red ink and cash running very low. Here to give us the latest is Fox Business's own Adam Shapiro. Adam, so the check is not in the mail, it turns out.
The check's not in the mail. It's a $5.5 billion default on a prepayment for future retiree health benefits. That's what was due today. But as we take a look at video of postal employees, keep in mind there's another $5.6 billion payment due in September. That will be missed. And I'm reading the famous inscription on the side of the facade of the Farley Post Office. Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. But you know, as we talk about this default, the Postal Service says they will run out of money come October, Melissa. Run out of money. And they're saying there will be no disruption of mail service today. But going forward in October, without any money to pay for the gasoline to drive the postal vehicles, to pay for the employees, roughly 80% of their costs, you got to ask, how are they going to be able to keep delivering the mail? Senate has passed legislation that would enable them to keep going forward. Wouldn't solve their financial problems, but they would keep going forward. But the legislation is stuck in the House of Representatives. And as of right now, they're on a deadline to run out of bucks come October. Melissa?
Is there a sense of panic among the people you talk to? Or are they like, they're going to fund us anyway. We're just going to go into debt like the rest of the government. Who cares?
Well, when we spoke with one postal employee, a man who's been with the Postal Service for 30 years this afternoon, he said this is a crisis. And the problem they fear is that Congress won't address this until after the November election. Keep in mind that the Senate legislation allows the post office to end Saturday delivery, to retire, not lay off, but retire roughly 100,000 employees. But none of that can take place. There can be none of this cost-saving measures can take place until allegedly after the election in November, and yet they run out of money in October. Somehow, somebody's got to come up with some money to get us from October to November 7th, the day after the election.
Oh, gosh, and they're waiting on Congress. Yeah, that is a scary thought. Adam Shapiro, thank you for that great report. So as you heard, the post office is in a world of trouble. The way I see it, the only way to solve the problem is to privatize it. And P.S., I know who would be perfect for the new job of CEO. That's me. Fox Business's own John Stossel wrote the new book, No, They Can't, Why Government Fails But Individuals Succeed. So he knows a thing or two about revamping things the way that they should be done. Great to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
So you've gone out and you've looked at some instances where the government is just horrible at doing things that individuals would be better at doing. There are a lot of those.
Well,
that's easy
the
pickings,
incentives are just wrong in government. In government, you keep your nose clean by doing what you've always done, and you don't change without permission of Congress in some cases. That's the post office's problem. They wanted to close 3,000 post offices. Congress said, no, can't do that. And the Republicans, I'm told, are the worst about saying, not in my district, you don't. And
oh, yeah, nobody's hands are clean on this one. I mean, this isn't a partisan issue. This is just a government is big and bloated and can't run a reasonable business. I mean, that's the problem.
But also, if it were your private business,
yes,
and I wouldn't want you to do it unless you had your own skin in the game, invested your own money, then you would want to make these changes every minute, every day. Government changes once every 4 or 8 years, and even then the incumbents are so locked in, they barely change anything. But in greedy private sector, you constantly make these adjustments.
Okay, so we would take the post office, we would make it private, and as you just pointed out, as the CEO, I would have to hold stock and have a lot of skin in the game. My compensation would be wrapped up in whether or not this business did well, right? Okay,
definitely.
I like that. And when we took it back private, I would think the first thing that we would want to do is, I mean, labor is 80% of the cost. And one of the reasons they have businesses that are worthwhile. I mean, Priority Mail, Express Mail, they just made these stamps, you know, commemorative stamps that have ball players on it. They're selling like hotcakes. And they know how to generate revenue. They just have crazy costs. So we've got to get rid of the legacy cost, right? How do we do that?
I don't presume to know. I mean,
well, we have to break the
post office
stronghold. How do you do that?
Well, maybe go file for bankruptcy and try to do it that way. But I wouldn't even presume to know that that was the answer. It just reminds me that they kept bringing in private sector managers to run the brilliant guys from the private sector.
Yeah.
And they could not get it there overnight. And then FedEx and UPS got it through there overnight. And now even the post office does it sometimes. We can't predict what it would take. You need somebody with his own skin in the game.
Yeah, that's true. Although you hint at one of the things that I think would be they need to do, which is stealing FedEx's best ideas. You know, I would go be an intern for Fred Smith and sort of sniff around and figure out what they're doing right.
Okay.
But I think that, you know, one of the things they do well is they do have express overnight. They do have priority mail now, which is very similar to the ground
and they make money on that stuff?
FedEx. I think they do make money on it. It's the snail mail that's killing them. It's the how many post offices they have all over the place that aren't making money. And then it is those pension costs that were promised to people that, you know, they can't fund this pension forever. It's just too rich. The benefits are too rich.
Though I'll push back. This pre-funding the thing, that's unfair to them. And they have a big contract with...
I don't know about that because...
Or it's different for them. Not other businesses don't do that.
But if you stop funding the pension, you just become California. Like, I don't think the answer is to not fund the pension.
But it's unusual to have to pre-fund a pension.
It is unusual, but it's not bad necessarily. I mean, they're looking out for their future.
Right. I wish the rest of the government would do that.
Yeah.
One other point, they have a big contract with FedEx. They take it the last mile. The post office does. From FedEx.
I didn't even know that.
And people would say, well, if you privatize it, then you, cruel, greedy CEO, I live in the boondocks.
That's true.
You're going to cut me off. You're going to make me come into the 7-Eleven 15 miles away instead of delivering to my door. And to that I say, well, there is a price for living in the boondocks, and every taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for that.
Yeah, and maybe if you want it delivered to your doorstep, you can pay a premium and get that. Or for less money, you have to drive into town and get it from the center. I think we fixed the problem. Just no one will let me loose on it. I don't know why. You know what? I'm going to raise a private equity fund. I'm going to buy the post office from the government. I'm going to take it back private. I'm going to turn it around. It's only going to take a few months, I think, because I've got the whole thing down.
I'll stay here and report on your adventure.
Really? You're not going to come help me? I keep trying to get Lou Dobbs to do this with me.
Well, I keep hearing these business ideas, and this would be a tough one, the post office.
I think I could find the right people. I'm going to get Frank Lorenzo. You know, remember when he got out there with the airlines? He's going to help me. It's going to be great. All right, John.